Mr. Lilley, do you think the government would be able to negotiate access to the European Union single market without accepting the free movement of EU labour?
Yes, although I qualify that. First of all, there isn't such a thing as the single market. If you look at through the Single European Act, that was about creating a single country called Europe, which had an internal market. By definition, if we're not part of that single country called Europe, we won't be part of their internal market. But we should be able to retain tariff-free trade, no new obstacles to our services, if they want to negotiate in their own economic self-interest. If, however, they decide that they want to punish us, then there'll be a period when they raise obstacles in the forms of tariffs and other things. That will be more damaging to them than it is to us, and they'll only accept that if they're driven by a political motive which overrides economic self-interest. We can perfectly well cope with that, and in due course they'll come to their senses and we'll get back to free trade.
What is your view on the recent High Court ruling?
I never had any objection to Parliament having a simple say on should we trigger Article 50, yes, no. And there's no doubt in my mind that to that question Parliament would give an overwhelming approval of triggering. What is worrying is if that gives the opportunity for people who want to wreck the process, delay the process, or reverse the process, to introduce conditions and say you're going to only invoke Article 50 if you agree to the following negotiating terms that you must achieve A, B and C, or that you must have a second referendum at the end of the process. Both of those would damage Britain's negotiating position tremendously, and that's why Parliament has always left negotiations to governments under the so-called royal prerogative, because if not, say conditions are laid down by Parliament, then the other side know what those conditions are, and they say, oh, if the government's got to achieve A, B and C, that's the maximum we'll give them, and we'll demand a very high price. And if they say there's going to be a referendum at the end of the process, we'll make sure that it's a terribly bad deal, bad therefore for Europe as well for us, because any deal which is bad for us must be even worse for Europe. But we'll do it in the hope that the British people will then vote no to that deal and come crawling back to be members of the European Union, and then the deal won't take place. So that's a recipe for the worst possible outcome. And that's why Parliament has always left the freedom of manoeuvre to governments, and it's very odd that the courts didn't even consider that argument, but have initiated a process which, if upheld by the Supreme Court, might have those damaging consequences.
So do you think other countries will leave the European Union now that Britain has voted to leave?
I don't think it will, actually. I've very strong contacts on the continent, and there'll be some parties who will say, let's follow us. Their establishments are so deeply entrenched in the European project, and by and large their countries are less responsive democratically to their people that I don't think there'll be any leaving to follow us. And that's why it's actually probably unnecessary for them, even from the point of view of those who would want to punish us, to discourage anyone from following suit, to do so, because I don't think anyone will follow suit. And nor need they. It's a bit like the situation in North America, where Canada has always had this tradition of self-government, never wanted to be part of the United States of America. That hasn't led to other states seceding from the United States of America, or of Canada wanting to join up. And we should be, in the European continent, a bit like Canada is in the North American continent, free, independent, self-governing country, trading closely with our neighbours, but not becoming submerged in their political union.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Sorry, they were rather long answers.